Picture this, a 16-year-old girl from a small Georgia town, standing in the grand halls of Princeton University, surrounded by the country's brightest young minds, kids born with silver spoons, private tutors, and legacy admissions in their back pockets. Their whispers cut like knives, "She doesn't belong here." Their smirks scream privilege. And then, just when she's ready to prove them wrong, a single email threatens to shatter her dreams, a fake, malicious trap designed to sabotage her shot at glory. This isn't a Hollywood script. This is the true, heart-pounding story of Emma Carter, a girl from Valdosta who walked into a room that wasn't built for her, faced down an Ivy League elite, and walked out with the trophy that changed everything. Stick around until the end, because the way Emma turned the tables on her doubters, and exposed a scandal that rocked Princeton, will leave you speechless. Now, imagine the stakes, the National High School Debate Championship, where every word is a weapon, and every glance is a judgment. Emma's not just fighting for a win, she's fighting for her place in a world that's already decided she's an outsider. Her sneakers are worn, her blazer's secondhand, and her only ally is a text from her mom, "You got this, Emma." Make them listen. Will she crumble under the pressure, or will she rewrite the rules of who gets to belong? If you love stories about underdogs who defy the odds, hit that subscribe button right now and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support brings more stories like Emma's to life, week after week. Let's dive into the battle that made Princeton remember her name forever. The camera pans across Princeton University's ivy-covered walls, the golden light of late afternoon casting long shadows over Nassau Hall. The air hums with anticipation, a low buzz of voices echoing through the polished marble corridors of the National High School Debate Championship. This is no ordinary high school event, it's a battleground where the nation's sharpest young minds clash, where futures are forged, and where privilege often wears a tailored blazer. Into this world steps Emma Carter, 16 years old, from Valdosta, Georgia, a town where the biggest event is the county fair, not an Ivy League invitational. Her dark hair is pulled into a tight ponytail, her thrift store blazer a touch too big, and her sneakers squeak against the floor, drawing side eyes from the polished crowd. She clutches a worn spiral notebook, its pages filled with handwritten notes scrawled under the dim light of her kitchen table back home. Emma's not like the others here. The other debaters, kids from Manhattan's Upper West Side, Palo Alto's tech mansions, and Boston's elite prep schools, carry themselves with an effortless confidence. Their laptops gleam, their resumes read like college applications, and their parents' connections open doors Emma's never even seen. She's the odd one out, the girl from a public school with a budget so tight the debate team shares one outdated projector. Yet, here she is, one of 64 students invited to compete at Princeton, her spot earned through sheer grit and a regional win nobody expected. Her mother, a nurse who works double shifts, texted her just before she boarded the bus to New Jersey, "You're not just representing Valdosta, Emma. You're representing us." Those words burn in her chest as she steps into the lecture hall. The room is a sea of navy blazers and polished loafers, the air thick with the scent of expensive cologne and ambition. Emma scans the crowd, her heart thudding. At the front, Professor Eleanor Grant, a legend in debate circles, stands like a sentinel. Her sharp eyes and reputation for merciless critiques make her a figure both feared and revered. She's known for spotting potential but also for shredding weak arguments without blinking. Emma catches Grant's gaze for a split second, a flicker of curiosity, maybe, or just indifference. It's hard to tell. Then, a voice cuts through the chatter, smooth and sharp as a blade. "Lost your way to the community college tryouts?" Nathan Brooks, 17, Princeton legacy and the golden boy of the debate circuit, leans against a desk, his smirk as tailored as his suit. The room ripples with laughter, a few heads turning to size up the target of his jab. Emma's cheeks flush, but she keeps her eyes forward, gripping her notebook tighter. Nathan's not just any competitor. He's the son of a Princeton alum, groomed for this moment since he could talk. His debate record is flawless, his charm disarming, and his network of friends, a clique of private school elites, forms a protective shield around him. They're already swapping stories of summer internships and family vacations in the Hamptons, their voices loud enough to ensure Emma hears every word. "I didn't know they let just anyone in," one of Nathan's friends, a girl with perfect highlights, mutters to another, glancing at Emma's scuffed shoes. The words sting, but Emma's been here before, mocked for her accent, her clothes, her everything. Back in Valdosta, she learned to tune out the noise. She pictures her mom's tired smile after a long shift, her voice steady, "Don't let them dim your light, Emma." She takes a deep breath and moves toward a window, pretending to study her notes, but really, she's steadying herself for the war ahead. The first day is all about introductions, icebreakers, team assignments, and a chance to size up the competition. Professor Grant steps to the podium, her presence silencing the room. "Welcome to the National High School Debate Championship," she says, her voice crisp. "Here, your words are your weapons. Wield them wisely, or don't bother showing up tomorrow." She outlines the schedule: warm-up rounds today, elimination round starting tomorrow. The topic for the first round drops like a bombshell: resolved, socioeconomic status should not influence college admissions. Emma's stomach twists. It's not just a debate topic, it's her life. She glances at Nathan, who's already whispering strategy with his friends, his laughter carrying across the room. She knows this isn't just about winning a trophy. It's about proving she belongs in a world that's already decided she doesn't. As the icebreaker session begins, the room splits into small groups, students clustering like they've known each other for years. Emma stands alone, her notebook now open to a blank page, her pen hovering. She tries to join a group, offering a shy smile, but the conversation stalls. "Oh, we're already full," a boy in a crisp blazer says, barely looking at her. Another group doesn't even acknowledge her. The rejection is subtle but deliberate, a reminder that she's an outsider in every way. She finds a corner near a towering bookshelf, the smell of old leather and polished wood overwhelming. She opens her laptop, a hand-me-down from her cousin, slow but functional, and starts reviewing her notes. Every statistic, every argument, every rebuttal was crafted with her mom's voice in her ear. "You don't need their money, Emma. You've got your mind." The warm-up rounds are meant to be low stakes, a chance to practice delivery and test the waters. But for Emma, every moment feels like a trial. She's paired with a girl from a Connecticut prep school who barely makes eye contact, rattling off her points with robotic precision. Emma responds, her voice steady but her accent drawing raised eyebrows. "Where are you from again?" The girl asks, her tone more curious than kind. "Valdosta, Georgia," Emma replies, forcing a smile. The girl nods, unimpressed, and moves on. It's a small moment, but it piles onto the weight Emma's been carrying since she arrived. She glances at Nathan's group, laughing loudly as they rehearse, their confidence filling the room like a fog. Then, during a break, Nathan's voice booms across the hall. "Hey, Professor Grant, are we doing charity points this year?" He's standing at the front, gesturing vaguely toward Emma, his grin wide enough to invite chuckles from his friends. The room quiets, all eyes on Emma. Her face burns, her fingers tightening around her pen. She wants to snap back, to tell him she earned her spot just like he did, but the words catch in her throat. Before she can respond, Professor Grant's voice slices through the tension. "Mr. Brooks, save your wit for the podium. You'll need it." The rebuke is sharp, and Nathan offers a mock bow, unfazed, but the damage is done. Emma feels the stares, the whispers, the judgment. She's not just a competitor, she's a spectacle. Back at her corner, Emma's phone buzzes. A text from her mom: "You got this, Emma. Make them listen." The words are a lifeline. She closes her eyes, picturing her mom in her scrubs, exhausted but proud, helping her practice rebuttals after midnight shifts. Emma's not here for Nathan or his friends. She's here for her mom, for Valdosta, for every kid who's been told they don't belong. She opens her laptop again, diving into research for the first elimination round. Supreme Court cases on admissions policies, statistics on funding disparities, stories of students like her who fought their way up. The data grounds her, but it's her mom's words that fuel her. She starts drafting her speech, her pen moving faster now, each word a defiance of the doubts swirling around her. As the day ends, Emma overhears Nathan and his friends near the exit, their voices low but deliberate. "She won't last past the first round," Nathan says, tossing a glance her way. "Public school kid with a sob story? Please." His friends laugh, and Emma's stomach tightens. She could confront him, but she knows better. Words on the podium will hit harder than anything she says now. She slips out of the hall, the cold New Jersey air hitting her face as she heads to her dorm. The campus is beautiful, all stone arches and manicured lawns, but it feels like enemy territory. In her tiny room, she spreads her notes across the bed, the weight of tomorrow's round pressing down. The topic, socioeconomic status in admissions, isn't just academic. It's personal. And as she falls asleep, her laptop still glowing, one thought burns bright: she's not here to blend in. She's here to stand out. The morning of the first elimination round dawns cold and gray, the sky over Princeton heavy with clouds that seem to mirror the weight in Emma Carter's chest. Sanders Hall, with its towering Gothic arches and rows of polished mahogany benches, feels more like a coliseum than a debate venue. The air buzzes with nervous energy as students, professors, and a handful of local reporters file in, their murmurs blending into a low hum. Emma stands at the side entrance, her breath shallow, her thrift store blazer slightly wrinkled from the restless night before. Her name is listed dead last on the speaker roster, a position she knows is reserved for those the organizers barely notice. She tightens her ponytail, adjusts her collar, and clutches her notebook, its pages now creased from hours of late-night revisions. This is it. The moment she's been preparing for since she won her regional qualifier in Valdosta, Georgia. The hall fills quickly, the audience a mix of sharply dressed students and stern-faced judges, their pens poised like swords. Nathan Brooks, the Princeton legacy and debate circuit darling, is slotted first, his name announced with a flourish that draws appreciative nods from the crowd. Emma watches from the sidelines as he strides to the podium, his tailored navy suit catching the light. His presence commands the room before he even speaks, tall, confident, every inch the Ivy League poster child. The debate topic, resolved, socioeconomic status should not influence college admissions, hangs on the massive screen behind him, its words looming like a challenge tailored to Emma's existence. She shifts her weight, her sneakers squeaking faintly, drawing a glance from a nearby student who smirks and looks away. Nathan's speech is a masterclass in polish. His voice is smooth, his diction flawless, each sentence crafted with the precision of someone who's had years of private coaching. He weaves statistics, graduation rates, standardized test correlations, with personal anecdotes about his rigorous prep school journey, pausing for calculated effect. The judges scribble furiously, their faces betraying faint smiles. The audience leans forward, nodding, some even clapping lightly when he finishes with a flourish: merit must prevail, not circumstance. Nathan steps down, his entourage of friends offering high fives as he passes, his smirk fixed firmly in place. The next few speakers follow, each one a product of elite academies, their arguments sharp but predictable, their delivery honed to perfection. Emma listens intently, mentally cataloging their weaknesses: over-reliance on stats, lack of emotional depth, assumptions that ignore the real world. Her stomach churns as the roster ticks closer to her name. She's been up since 4 a.m., rehearsing in the dorm bathroom mirror, her mom's text echoing in her mind: "You got this, Emma. Make them listen." But the weight of the room, the stares, the whispers, the unspoken hierarchy, presses down harder with every passing minute. She glances at Professor Eleanor Grant, seated at the judges' table, her expression unreadable behind her wire-rimmed glasses. Grant's reputation for shredding weak arguments is legendary, and Emma knows one misstep could end her run before it begins. The moderator's voice cuts through her thoughts, sharp and final: "Next speaker, Emma Carter, representing Valdosta Southeast Regional." A beat of silence follows, heavy and uncomfortable, as heads turn to find her. Some students exchange glances, their expressions a mix of curiosity and amusement, as if waiting for a punchline. Emma rises slowly, her legs heavier than she expected. Each step toward the podium feels like wading through water, the eyes of the room boring into her. She passes Nathan, who leans back in his seat, arms crossed, his smirk sharper now, almost daring her to fail. She places her notebook on the podium, her fingers trembling just enough to notice. The microphone looms in front of her, cold and imposing. She adjusts it, clears her throat, and takes a breath so deep it steadies her racing heart. Then she begins, her voice softer than the others but deliberate, each word chosen with care. "Before I start, I want to thank Princeton for this opportunity," she says, her eyes sweeping the room, lingering briefly on Nathan. "Even if some people here think I don't belong." A ripple of gasps and stifled laughter spreads through the audience, the tension spiking instantly. Professor Grant's eyebrows lift slightly, her pen pausing. Emma doesn't flinch. She launches into her argument, her voice growing stronger with every sentence. She cites Supreme Court rulings on affirmative action, pulling from memory the cases she studied until dawn. She quotes a study showing that 70% of students at top-tier universities come from the wealthiest 20% of households, her tone sharpening as she drives the point home. This isn't meritocracy, it's a system rigged for those already at the top. The room is quiet now, the earlier whispers gone. Emma shifts gears, her voice softening as she weaves in her own story. My school in Valdosta doesn't have a debate coach. Our library's books are older than I am, and the air conditioning breaks every spring. But I'm here, standing in front of you, because talent doesn't care where you're born, it just needs a chance to grow. Her words land like stones in still water, rippling through the audience. She locks eyes with Nathan for a split second, his smirk faltering, his fingers tightening on his pen. Emma presses on, dismantling the myth of a level playing field. She references the history of admissions biases, how legacy students and donor families still hold an edge, how standardized tests favor those with access to expensive prep courses. Her closing is quiet but piercing, reducing the influence of socioeconomic status isn't about handouts. It's about fairness. It's about making sure the next kid from a place like Valdosta doesn't have to fight twice as hard just to stand in this room. She steps back from the podium, her heart pounding so loud she can barely hear the scattered applause that follows. It's not thunderous, but it's real, and it grows as a few students in the back start clapping harder, their faces surprised, maybe even impressed. Nathan's eyes narrow as she passes him, his voice low but audible. Nice story. Too bad it won't score points. Emma doesn't respond, her spine straight, her gaze fixed ahead. She returns to her seat, her hands still shaking but her resolve hardening. She knows she wasn't perfect, her delivery lacked Nathan's polish, her pauses weren't as practiced, but she spoke from a place none of them could touch. The judges' pens move quickly, their faces giving nothing away. Professor Grant's gaze lingers on Emma for a moment longer than it did on the others, her expression unreadable but intense, like she's seeing something she didn't expect. As the round ends, the hall empties, students buzzing about who scored highest. Emma stays behind, pretending to organize her notes, avoiding the clusters of debaters swapping predictions. She overhears Nathan's voice near the door, she got lucky. Won't happen again. His friends laugh, but there's a nervous edge to it now. Emma's phone buzzes, a text from her mom, proud of you, baby. Keep going. She smiles faintly, the knot in her stomach loosening just a fraction. The preliminary scores will be posted soon, and while she's not expecting miracles, she knows she's shaken the room. For the first time since she arrived, Emma feels a spark of something dangerous, hope. She's not just surviving, she's fighting. And she's ready for whatever comes next. The Princeton campus is cloaked in the dim glow of evening, its stone arches casting long, jagged shadows as Emma Carter hurries across the quad to her dorm. Her performance in the first debate round still lingers in her mind, her words had landed, the room had listened, and for a fleeting moment, she'd felt like she belonged. But the memory of Nathan Brooks' smirk and the whispers of his clique keep her on edge. She's ranked 10th, barely scraping into the quarterfinals, and the pressure is mounting. Her phone buzzes in her pocket as she reaches her tiny dorm room, a stark contrast to the opulent lecture halls she's been navigating. It's a text from her mom, you showed them, Emma. Keep fighting. She smiles faintly, but her exhaustion is bone deep. She drops her worn notebook onto the bed, its pages now a chaotic mix of debate notes and scribbled encouragements to herself. She's about to start prepping for the next round when her laptop chimes with a new email notification. The subject line stops her cold, urgent, quarterfinal topic change. The sender appears to be from the debate committee, an official Princeton address, debateadmin@princeton.edu. Her heart skips as she opens it, the words blurring under the fluorescent dorm light. Due to scheduling conflicts, your assigned topic for tomorrow's quarterfinal round has been changed. Please prepare to argue. Resolved, technology undermines human connection. Failure to comply will result in disqualification. Emma's breath catches. The original topic, emailed days ago, was about affirmative action, a subject she'd spent weeks researching, her arguments sharpened to a razor's edge. This new topic, technology and human connection, is unfamiliar territory. She scrolls through her inbox, searching for any prior mention of a change. Nothing. Her pulse quickens as she checks the official schedule pinned to her dorm's bulletin board. No updates, no announcements. Something feels wrong, like a trap snapping shut around her. She glances at the clock, 9:45 p.m. The quarterfinals are in 12 hours. Panic surges, her hands trembling as she opens her laptop and starts pulling up articles, studies, anything she can find on technology's impact on communication. Her dorm room, already cramped, feels suffocating now, the walls closing in as she types furiously. Social media studies, psychology journals, stats on screen time, she schemes them all, her eyes burning from the screen's glare. She tries to piece together an argument, but her mind keeps circling back to the email. Why her? Why now? She recalls Nathan's smug comment after her speech, "Nice story. Too bad it won't score points." His friend's laughter echoes in her memory, their glances sharp and knowing. A cold realization hits her, this isn't a mistake. Someone wants her out. Emma's phone buzzes again, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. Another text from her mom, "You okay, baby?" She wants to call, to pour out her fears, but she knows her mom is pulling another night shift at the hospital. Instead, she types back, "Just prepping. I got this." The lie feels heavy, but it's all she has. She pushes her chair back, pacing the small room, her sneakers scuffing the linoleum floor. She stops at the window, staring out at the darkened campus, its beauty now menacing. The stakes are higher than ever. If she fails tomorrow, she's out, her dreams of proving herself at Princeton shattered. But if this is sabotage, confronting it now without proof could make her look paranoid, a small-town girl who can't handle the pressure. She clenches her fists, her mom's words ringing in her ears, "You don't need their permission to shine." By midnight, Emma's desk is a mess of open tabs and scribbled notes. She's found a few key points, studies showing how social media isolates communities, anecdotes about families drifting apart over screens. But it's not enough for a full speech, not against debaters like Nathan, who've had weeks to prepare their polished arguments. She tries to draft an opening, but her words feel hollow, unconvincing. At 1 a.m., she overhears voices outside her dorm, Nathan and his friends, their laughter carrying through the thin walls. She's probably crying to her mom by now, one says, his voice dripping with mockery. Emma freezes, her pen hovering over her notebook. She creeps to the door, pressing her ear against it. "No way she pulls this off," Nathan says, his tone smug. "New topic, no prep. She's done." The words hit like a punch, confirming her worst fears. This isn't just a random email, it's a calculated move, and Nathan's fingerprints are all over it. Anger flares in Emma's chest, but she forces it down. She can't prove anything yet, and losing her cool now will only play into their hands. She returns to her laptop, her resolve hardening. If they want to break her, they'll have to try harder. She dives back into her research, pulling up a case study on how technology helped rural communities like Valdosta organize after natural disasters. She scribbles a personal angle, her town's group chat that rallied donations when a tornado hit last year. It's not much, but it's something real, something she can build on. By 3 a.m., her eyes are heavy, her fingers cramped, but she's got a rough outline. It's messy, unpolished, but it's hers. She collapses onto her bed, her laptop still open, the screen's glow casting shadows across her face. Sleep comes in fits, her dreams a jumble of podiums and Nathan's smirk. The next morning, Emma wakes to the shrill buzz of her alarm, her body aching from the short night. The campus is quiet as she heads to Sanders Hall, her notebook tucked under her arm, her heart pounding like a drum. The quarterfinals are underway, the room packed with spectators, the air thick with anticipation. She checks in at the registration table, her hands clammy as she scans the crowd. Nathan's already there, laughing with his friends, his confidence unshaken. He catches her eye and tilts his head, mouthing, "Good luck," with a grin that's anything but sincere. Emma's stomach twists, but she forces a nod, refusing to let him see her rattled. As she takes her seat, Professor Eleanor Grant approaches the check-in table, her expression stern. "Miss Carter," she says, her voice low and sharp, "where have you been?" Emma blinks, confused. "I've been prepping for the new topic," she says, pulling out her phone to show the email. Grant's eyes narrow as she scans the screen, her lips thinning into a tight line. "This isn't from us," she says coldly. "It's a spoofed address." Emma's heart plummets, the room spinning around her. "Spoofed?" she whispers, her voice barely audible. Grant nods, her gaze piercing. You were supposed to prepare for the original topic. Resolved, affirmative action policies do more harm than good. Your round starts in 10 minutes. The words hit like a tidal wave. 10 minutes. No prep, no notes, no chance to pivot. Emma's vision blurs, her breath coming in short, shallow gasps. She glances at Nathan, who's watching from across the room, his expression unreadable but his eyes gleaming with something dark. Who would do this? She asks, her voice trembling. Grant's face hardens. We're looking into it. For now, focus on your speech. Emma nods, but her mind is racing, her thoughts a chaotic swirl of fear and fury. She has two choices, walk out now or step up and fight with whatever she's got. Her mom's voice cuts through the panic, you didn't come this far to fold. Emma grabs a blank sheet of paper, her pen shaking as she jots down fragments of ideas, affirmative action, fairness, her own story. It's not enough, but it's all she has. As the moderator calls her name, she stands, her legs unsteady but her jaw set. Nathan's smirk follows her to the podium, but she doesn't look back. This is her moment, and she's not letting him take it. The air in Sanders Hall is thick with tension as Emma Carter stands at the edge of the stage, her heart hammering against her ribs. The revelation that the email changing her debate topic was a fake, a deliberate act of sabotage, has left her reeling. 10 minutes ago, Professor Eleanor Grant confirmed the worst, she's unprepared for the real quarterfinal topic, resolved, affirmative action policies do more harm than good. Her notebook, filled with hastily scribbled notes on technology and human connection, is useless now. The clock ticks mercilessly, and the moderator's voice booms through the hall, Emma Carter, representing Valdosta Southeast Regional, please take the podium. The room tilts slightly as she steps forward, her scuffed sneakers echoing in the silence. Every eye is on her, some curious, some skeptical, others openly expecting her to crumble. Nathan Brooks sits in the front row, his arms crossed, a faint smirk playing on his lips. He thinks he's won. Emma places her blank sheet of paper on the podium, her fingers trembling as she adjusts the microphone. The judges, including Professor Grant, watch with unreadable expressions, their pens poised. The audience, a mix of students, faculty, and reporters, leans forward, sensing something pivotal is about to unfold. Emma's mind races, grasping for fragments of arguments she's read, conversations she's had, anything to fill the void. Her mom's text from last night flashes in her memory, you got this, Emma. Make them listen. She closes her eyes for a split second, drawing a shaky breath. Then she begins, her voice soft but steady, cutting through the heavy silence. I didn't come here to talk about policy in a vacuum, she says, her gaze sweeping the room. I came here to talk about what it means to fight for a chance when the system is built to keep you out. The words surprise even her, flowing from a place deep inside, raw and unfiltered. She has no polished statistics, no rehearsed quotes, but she has her truth. She speaks of Valdosta, where her high school's funding is a fraction of what elite prep schools spend, where affirmative action isn't just a policy, it's a lifeline for kids like her. This debate isn't about lowering standards, she says, her voice gaining strength. It's about recognizing that the starting line isn't the same for everyone. She pauses, locking eyes with a judge who's scribbling furiously. I know what it's like to walk into a room where you're already counted out. My school doesn't have debate coaches or SAT prep courses. My mom works double shifts to keep our lights on. But I'm here, standing on this stage, because someone believed I deserved a shot. The room is silent, the kind of silence that feels alive, charged with attention. Emma weaves in a story from Valdosta, a classmate who got into college through an affirmative action program, only to face whispers that he didn't earn it. Those whispers sound a lot like what I've heard here, she says, her eyes flicking briefly toward Nathan, whose smirk falters. She doesn't name him, but the implication lands like a dart. She pivots to data she recalls from her late-night research weeks ago, studies showing affirmative action increases diversity without compromising academic outcomes, how it breaks cycles of poverty. Her delivery isn't flawless, she stumbles over a few words, her accent slipping through, but it's real, and the audience feels it. A few students in the back nod, their faces softening, as if seeing her for the first time. When she reaches her closing, her voice trembles with conviction. Affirmative action isn't perfect, but it's not the problem. The problem is a system that makes kids like me climb mountains just to reach the starting line. If we want fairness, we don't scrap the policies that give us a chance, we fix the ones that keep us out. She steps back, her chest heaving, the silence in the room stretching for a heartbeat longer than it should. Then applause breaks out, not overwhelming but genuine, starting in the back and spreading unevenly. A few judges exchange glances, their pens still moving. Professor Grant's eyes linger on Emma, her expression unreadable but intense, like she's recalculating something. As Emma returns to her seat, Nathan leans forward, whispering just loud enough for her to hear, "Not bad for a last-minute sob story." His tone is sharp, but there's a crack in his confidence, a nervousness he can't quite hide. Emma ignores him, her pulse still racing, her hands clenched to stop the shaking. She knows her speech wasn't perfect, but it was enough. She'd spoken her truth, and the room had listened. The other quarterfinalists take their turns, their arguments polished but predictable, leaning heavily on abstract principles. Emma listens, mentally noting their flaws, her confidence flickering back to life. When the round ends, the judges retreat to deliberate, and the hall buzzes with speculation. Emma stays seated, staring at her notebook, avoiding the stares of Nathan's clique. An hour later, the scores are posted on a digital board outside the hall. Emma approaches cautiously, her heart in her throat. The list is stark, clinical, ranking the top 16 advancing to the semifinals. She scans the names, her breath catching as she finds hers, Emma Carter, rank 6. A small gasp escapes her lips. She's made it, higher than she dared hope, especially after the sabotage. Relief floods her, but it's tempered by a new resolve. Nathan's name sits at the top, rank 1, his friends already celebrating around him. He catches her eye and raises an eyebrow, as if to say, "You're still here." Emma turns away, her jaw tight. This isn't over. The semi-final morning dawns colder, the Princeton campus shrouded in mist that clings to the stone buildings like a warning. Emma barely slept, her mind replaying the fake email, Nathan's taunts, and her improvised speech. The sabotage has left her shaken, but it's also lit a fire inside her. She's not just fighting for a trophy now, she's fighting to prove no one can silence her. The semi-final topic, emailed late last night, is a gut punch, resolved, digital activism is less effective than traditional grassroots organizing. It's a topic that hits close to home, and Emma knows she can't afford another misstep. She's up against Sophie Chen, a formidable debater from a top-tier private academy in New Jersey, whose resume boasts national titles and a flawless delivery. Sophie's known for her icy precision, and the thought of facing her makes Emma's stomach knot. Sanders Hall is packed, the stakes higher now, with cameras from a local news outlet capturing every moment. Emma sits in the front row, her notebook open but untouched, her mind racing through her prepared arguments. She's spent hours weaving data, case studies on Black Lives Matter, the Arab Spring, and local fundraisers in Valdosta, with a personal story she's never shared publicly. Nathan's in the audience, his presence a constant pressure, his friends whispering just loud enough to distract. The moderator calls Sophie first, who glides to the podium with the confidence of someone born for this stage. Her speech is a surgical strike, dismantling digital activism with stats on low voter turnout from online campaigns and quotes from political scientists. The judges nod, their pens moving in unison. Sophie's delivery is flawless, but it's cold, detached, like she's arguing from a textbook. When Emma's name is called, the room shifts, a mix of anticipation and skepticism hanging in the air. She walks to the podium, her heart pounding so loud she's sure the microphone will pick it up. She adjusts her blazer, takes a breath, and begins. "This debate isn't just about numbers," she says, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "It's about voices, voices like mine, from places like Valdosta, where the internet is sometimes the only way we're heard." She cites studies showing how digital campaigns have driven policy changes, like online petitions that led to school funding reforms in rural Georgia. But it's her personal story that silences the room. 2 years ago, a fire took our home, she says, her voice catching for a moment. "We lost everything, photos, clothes, my mom's nurse scrubs. The insurance wasn't enough, and Valdosta's not the kind of place with big charity drives. But a group of strangers online, people we'd never met, started a fundraiser. They shared our story, and within days, we had enough to start over." The room is still, every eye on her. Even Sophie, seated nearby, shifts uncomfortably. Emma's voice rises, steady now. Digital activism isn't perfect, but for people like me, it's a megaphone when the world tries to keep us quiet. Grassroots organizing is powerful, but it's not the only way to change lives. She closes with a quiet intensity, "Don't tell me digital activism doesn't work when it's the reason I'm standing here today." The applause comes faster this time, louder, spreading through the room like a wave. A few students stand, their faces a mix of surprise and admiration. Sophie's polite smile is strained, her confidence shaken. Professor Grant's gaze is fixed on Emma, her pen still, her expression shifting from scrutiny to something closer to respect. Emma steps down, her legs shaky but her head high. Nathan's smirk is gone, replaced by a tight-lipped frown as he whispers something to his friends. When the judges return, the announcement hits like a thunderclap, the winner, advancing to the finals, Emma Carter. The applause is real now, not just polite, and Emma feels a rush of disbelief. She's done it, against all odds, against Sophie's polish, against the sabotage still looming over her. As she leaves the stage, Professor Grant catches her eye and gives a small nod, a gesture so subtle it's almost invisible but heavy with meaning. Emma's phone buzzes, a text from her mom, "That's my girl." She smiles, but the weight of the finals looms. Nathan's waiting, and she knows he's not done playing dirty. The battle's only just begun, and Emma's ready to fight harder than ever. The Princeton auditorium is electric, packed to capacity with students, faculty, and reporters, their murmurs rising like a storm. Heavy gray clouds loom outside, casting Sanders Hall in a dramatic half-light as Emma Carter prepares for the final round of the National High School Debate Championship. Her opponent is Nathan Brooks, the Princeton legacy whose sabotage nearly ended her run. The topic flashes on the screen, "Resolved, traditional institutions are the best guardians of academic integrity." The irony is biting, Emma's journey has been a fight against those very institutions. She stands backstage, her thrift store blazer straightened, her notebook clutched tight. Nathan paces nearby, his confidence a thin mask over nervous energy. His friends' usual cheers are quieter now, their glances darting toward Emma. She meets Nathan's eyes for a moment, his smirk is there, but it's strained, like he knows the tide is turning. The moderator introduces the finalists, and the crowd erupts for Nathan, a hometown favorite. Emma's introduction draws polite applause, but she feels the weight of every stare. Nathan takes the podium first, his speech a polished assault, citing Ivy League traditions and academic rigor with a charisma that sways the room. But his arguments feel hollow, leaning on prestige without substance. When Emma steps up, the air shifts. Academic integrity isn't about protecting old systems, she says, her voice clear and fierce. It's about ensuring everyone gets a fair shot. She weaves in the sabotage subtly, never naming Nathan but hinting at those who'd rather cheat than compete. The audience stirs, sensing the undercurrent. She dismantles Nathan's points with data, how elite institutions favor legacy admissions, and her own story, "I'm proof that integrity means fighting for your place, not rigging the game." The applause is thunderous, Nathan's face pale. The judge's decision comes swiftly, Emma wins, the room exploding in cheers as Nathan storms out, defeated. Later that evening, Emma sits on the steps outside Sanders Hall, the cold air sharp against her skin. Professor Grant approaches, her voice low. "We traced the fake email to Nathan Brooks. He's facing suspension." Emma's breath catches, justice, finally. Grant hands her an envelope, an invitation to Princeton's summer program, full scholarship. "You've earned this," Grant says, a rare warmth in her eyes. Emma's phone buzzes, her mom, "You did it, baby." Tears prick her eyes as she smiles, pride swelling. The narrator's voice cuts in, "If Emma's fight moved you, hit that thumbs up and share this story. Subscribe to join us in reaching 1,000 subscribers and keep these stories alive." Emma's triumph isn't just a win, it's a lesson for us all. First, your background doesn't define your potential, your actions do. Emma faced a system stacked against her, yet she rose. Second, when obstacles hit, lean into your truth, it's your greatest weapon. Whether you're facing doubters or sabotage, resilience and authenticity can change the game. So, take a page from Emma's book, fight for your place, and don't let anyone dim your light.